My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. What police department is this again? Ontario? This is indeed the, yeah. Just want to show you how this is monitored. Are they? I think they're still using the bathroom. This is impossible light activity. And those were demons. Physically, you're looking at 3 white women stalking a black woman, and where they're stalking is also legally relevant, and it's also probative regarding the mind state. These are sex offenders who are demons, who are monitoring in the engineer light at, as you heard, the Ontario Police Department that you already know is filled with engineer light and is under the fake sun. And the gang of demons pace into the bathroom with the entirety of the Ontario Police Department that's working at the police station at 2500 South Archibald Avenue at what is 9:21 a.m. Remember, my documentation places me in cities like in Pomona, California, and in Fontana, California, even at the Ovid Family Community Library, where the military is stalking by planes, just like they were en route to this police department this morning, nowhere near that venue, along Mission Boulevard, along California, along Cucamonga, where the entity is engaging in gang stalking. This is the entity that's doing so while they are monitoring devices. This is federal stalking, the unlawful search. And this is where the entity is doing so under the fake sun, which is where I will show you the Ontario Police that is being disbanded, is engaging in the sex offense of bathroom monitoring at the police station. P.O.C. The shadows moving across the ceiling, that's impossible light activity. This is a demon that's monitoring a woman in the bathroom wearing a police uniform. This is impossible light. And absolutely inexplicable light that's moving across the ceiling. This is indeed the sex offender. That is the Ontario Police Department engaging in the sex. This is impossible light, even outside of the fake sun documentation. But the fake sun is here after 4 p.m. this time of year in 2021. This is the P.O.C. That is indeed bathroom monitoring. Bathroom monitoring that's underway at the Ovid Family Community Library, the bathroom monitoring that's underway at the Upland Public Library, the bathroom monitoring that's underway at the Ontario Senior Center, where the military is stalking in the path under a fake sun that's going to remain over me, while demons who are vagina monitors are going into the bathroom to maintain surveillance, where no police department has any legitimate interest, is not conducting an investigation, is not engaged in the execution of the duties of an officer, but is stalking in the path like demons do, who are gang stalking in furtherance of murder. The fake sun is over me at this same department, as I documented in 2021 after 4 p.m. Okay, license 4WON432. That is the license plate of the third party Tracy Banks, who is going to prison for engaging in kidnapping, criminal defamation with this same department that's engaging in the pattern of conduct in concert with Tracy Banks, but pursuant to what is a United States government system that Tracy Banks has engaged in against a relative, which is why she's going to prison. Okay, this is the Ontario Police. They're going to prison. Waco Inc. is going, those employees are gang stalking, they're going to prison. The vagina monitors engaged in what is going into the bathroom. And this is documentation, remember, Rodriguez and Hadel Shiapani, they're engaging in what is kidnapping at Stater Brothers, where Edgar is going to prison, so is Kia. These are demons that engaged in this sex offense, bathroom monitoring, at the Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt, where the fake sun is documented at the same time right now. They're all the employees of Stater Brothers are going to prison. They're engaging in the sex offense that the city police department are engaging in. This is not a police department, they're being disbanded. And you're showing the mental illness of those that are engaging in that sex offense that is gang stalking, where surveillance is underway in the bathrooms, where an entity is maintaining criminal surveillance, crossing path together. They're pacing. 1547777. These are demons that are going to be removed from the positions that they have hijacked in order to maintain a system of gang stalking and furtherance of murdering. And I want to be clear, they kidnap children, they consume their bodies, they consume feces of children that they're obsessively keeping under surveillance and kidnapping across the globe. That's what the Ontario Police Department is actually engaging in. And Rodriguez is going to prison. Rodriguez is speaking to what is a warrant pursuant to surveillance. When you are, that's how you know my name and I've never met you before. When you're talking about a warrant pursuant to kidnapping by this department that I'm documenting, prosecuting gang stalking, you don't engage in any lawful arrests. The sheriff doesn't maintain any jurisdiction with regard to a gang stalking court that maintains any production of any warrant. That's the entity that engaged in a kidnapping, stole my phones while they were engaged in gang stalking the entire time. And everybody that I documented, and I documented tons and tons of people, every single last one of them are going to prison. Gang stalking at the Ontario Police Department, and they're gang stalking as I've been documenting, and they committed kidnapping at Stater Brothers. That is, again, embarrassed because they're vagina monitors, and that corporation, Stater Brothers, is a vagina monitoring stalker, as you will prosecute establishments under federal law. To commit a kidnapping is to be subject to federal prison for a prolonged amount of time. Edgar, Kia, Matt, all of them that are gang stalking at Stater Brothers on the morning of July 13, 2026. When you're targeting with ignoramuses that are keeping my vagina under surveillance at the headquarters of that police department and you threaten to summon them, I just want to be clear, that is the concoction, that's the formula for having you committed and having you put in prison, because that's what's happening. This is the P.O.C. The entity engages in criminal summoning on July 13th, and they were engaging in this pattern of conduct in the bathroom of Stater Brothers as they're engaging in the pattern of conduct in the bathroom of the Ontario Police Department, which is not a police department. The fake sun is here over me after 4 p.m. That's the evidence of the specific environment where you're engaging in the P.O.C. Alrighty? And the entity is doing so with the third-party corporate actors. It includes Budget, Convergent, Waco, Incorporated, and these are the demons that engage in this mentally ill behavior and conspicuously surveilling, and that's the entity that's doing so. At 9:27 a.m., you're going to recall this because Budget employees are going to prison. Pay attention to the fake sun moving as I move. This is federal stalking in violation of federal law, and they're doing so in furtherance of murder with the Ontario Police. This is P.O.C. Alrighty? That's the entity that's engaged in. That's not sunlight. And coming right in my face, you're prosecuting the corporation, you're prosecuting the demons operating them. This is P.O.C. That's a FedEx shirt he has on, operating a Budget vehicle, and the fake sun is not at the Ovid Family Community Library. It's right here over my head at the Ontario Police Department. And that's the level of impunity for which you're being committed and you're going to prison. Okay, and these companies are going out of business. This is what they're doing with the military, stalking, and commercial planes. And this is speaking to the terrorists that are the Ontario Police. They're being disbanded. Rudy Lopez, he's going to prison for the pattern of conduct that you're looking at right now. This is the P.O.C. You will not engage in terrorism like FedEx and Budget is doing now with a gang stalking police department. Moreover, in the face, conspicuously to that American citizen, like the terrorists, the vagina monitors, the stalkers of the Ontario Police Department who committed kidnapping with West Valley Detention Center. They committed kidnapping with the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. And I want to be clear, I believe his name is Thomas Lauro. He's going to federal prison. He entertained a federal case regarding what is the fictitious prosecution. You don't have any authority. This is the pattern of conduct that Budget just engaged in. And you have a commissioner sitting on a bench engaging in what is kidnapping me in order to then dismiss 3 fictitious acts of authority, claiming you have warrants just to dismiss them in order for me to then be subject to the hardship created by stealing my property and kidnapping me in the first place to obstruct justice. This is the same pattern that the entity engages in to commit you, to kidnap you, and keep you pursuant to criminal acts that you never even committed. And he is going to prison for it. Okay, the gang stalking judge, and this is the evidence putting him in prison. This is the criminal act that he's engaged in, and including him stealing my property so that I wouldn't be able to document the fact that I'm subject to gang stalking on my way to West Valley, remaining at West Valley, on the way to the court, back to the West Valley Detention Center, and en route the entire time while I come to Ontario Police Department that is gang stalking me, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. The commissioner on July 14, 2026, he is documented. He is admitting to engaging in it. His name is on it. He's presiding over a criminal act in a court that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and he is going to prison. His name is Laurel. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:29 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. It is currently Current time, give you the time. The employees at the Upland Public Library are going to prison. It is currently 5:40 p.m. That is Adam Tuckerman, who is going to prison. He is stalking in the path. He's a psychopath. This is impossible light that's on the ceiling. And I'm giving you context right here. What's happening is a third party that's monitoring with the entity that's amplified helicopter activity. There's no helipad over by the Upland Police, over in Public Library. There is no that's going to create this sunlight on the wall. The operation of a communication device while you're engaged in federal stalking, while you're being documented. It's also impunity, and the entities engage in this while I am publishing video documentation. And the subject of this video that I'm publishing is exactly what the entity just replicated again. While I'm reviewing evidence, preparing to publish it, the entity engages in this. I just want you to be direct indication of the mental illness by those who are going to prison. That is Tuckerman himself. I'm going to show you the fake son. This is the entity that just engaged in committing kidnapping. This is what the Rodriguez. This is what Stater Brothers of at 646 West Hall, and this is terrorism by a population of stalkers. These are all demons sitting in the environment, monitoring. Impossible Light is inside of that reference area. That's Ashley and Tuckerman, who are both going to prison. This is Impossible Light. And the entity is engaging in terrorism while they talk like nothing is happening, like they're not paying attention to you. That's the mental illness, the psychopathic disorders of those that are stalking under a fake sun. You'll see my images today as I'm arriving during the 12 p.m. hour. Of all ethnicities, those that are immigrants, those that cannot even speak English, those that are also national born, those are that are born in this nation, and those that are not born in this country are engaged. Like, she's stalking by standing right above me with that device while the entity's amplifying helicopter activity, and they're all in here engaging in vagina monitoring together. This is the P.O.C. You're mindful of who's going to prison, and his name is Edgar. Stater Brothers. That's engaged in the pattern of conduct and is merely hostile because you're being documented as a terrorist. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaging in that and is replicating the video that is being published right now. Screen recording on May 17, 2026 at 16:59:50 is when this video ended, and the entity is in this video stalking me by helicopter. This is relevant to the employees who are going to prison while they replicate acts of terrorism while it's published on the internet, which is not a coincidence as well. Specific environment where they are under a fake sun. Okay, this is the P.O.C, the fake sun documentation, the engineer light that fills the reference. This is psychopathic. You're acting like you're doing something else and you're gang stalking. Okay, this is the P.O.C. Getting to highly malicious conduct. I'm going to show you the entity that is indeed stalking me by helicopter on this day, which is what I'm publishing right now. All right, up here above, this is what is inspiring the U.S. military to begin stalking by helicopter. This is criminal monitoring federal stalking under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. The entity is flying over the top of my head. And this is exactly what I'm listening to while the entity repeats that. They're going to prison. All of the employees are. This is the P.O.C. The Ontario Police Department committed kidnapping with the city of Upland. I'm merely showing you how city to city, department to department, county to county, and even state to state, it's the identical pattern of conduct. The entity that committed kidnapping is inclusive of those that are still gang stalking today, and that's exactly why they're being committed. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 5:43 p.m. This is the documentation of mental illness and the criminal the criminal pattern of conduct with regard to the conspiracy to commit murder while you are targeting with the military that knows exactly where I'm at and is replicating that criminal activity in real time. All right, this is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 5:44 p.m. Alrighty, this is the mentally ill that are making up the corporate entity AMR. They're very heavily documented. They're already convicted gang stalkers. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct as I exit Upland Public Library that is under the fake sun where, for example, state actor who's going to prison Landivar is gang stalking at the same location during the 8 a.m. hour. AMR is targeting me and comes with the people of the state whose license plate I documented series of them engaging in criminal summoning, which is a federal offense mandating prison. They're doing this upon exit as I document vagina monitors who are hostile, psychopaths that, in other words, are angry because they're being documented. And this is what a population of gang stalkers do while they are seeking to psychologically torture before murder, by the way. So I am documenting in order to put in prison gang members who are a part of a pool of defendants who are continuously adding to those who are by mandate going to prison for gang stalking with impunity while they are interfering with the case. Remember, these same defendants that I documented right now committed kidnapping. So this is the entity that's engaging in that, and they're doing so at what is Euclid Avenue and D as in Dog Street, where the fake sun's over me at the Upland Unified School District. The entity is doing so as I exit the venue, and American Medical Response is engaging in what is an act of terrorism, psychological torture, which is also relevant to the fact that they're monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. They're doing so as I walk out under that fake sun at 7:01 p.m. And I did capture a series of terrorist license plate that are engaging in the pattern of conduct with the state. This is the entity that's doing so while the entity is crossing path in the sky space. This is what AMR is doing with the people who are crossing path under that fake sun and engineer light while the entity is stalking in the sky space, doing so at what is approximately 9th Street and Euclid, where the gang stalkers at 7-Eleven are all going to prison. That's approximately where a demon is stalking in the sky space, and this is the entity engaging in active terrorism together. I did document domestic terrorists, which is only one aspect regarding those who are going to prison for what I just documented again. It is criminal summoning. It is currently 7:04 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the entity stalking with light. 79451 Uncle 2 at the Water Ice. I'm gonna prosecute them too. 7PJK785, and they're gang stalking with Pizza Hut. This is the entity that Pizza Hut, and this is also Reliable Properties, the entire shopping plaza, while the sex offenders are stalking at night. And McLean is pacing in and out there, gang stalking in the engineered environment. And I'm gonna prosecute McLean as a sex offender as well. The entity is engaging in this with the entity that is stalking right here. All right, so this is behind what is secretary with impossible light, communication device in hand, going to a venue that you're going to prosecute. And this is the prosecution of Reliable Properties. You see this? This is an unlawful touching while you're monitoring a furtherance of murder, and you're a psychopath engaging in that pattern of conduct. It's not even about the water. It's about monitoring me and monitoring my vagina. This is license 79451 Uncle 2. They're going to be committed. This is P.O.C. They're monitoring with the U.S. government, and Pizza Hut is going to compensate me. They're engaged in serving food while they're monitoring, and that's a basis of federal prison. Hey, this is P.O.C. They're monitoring me with the ones going inside, and I also documented one of the gang stalking homeless going inside. I took pictures of that demon with the pizza face. He's going to prison, and they're going into Pizza Hut targeting me with the entity. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, where the entity is committing a sex offense, which is the military committing a sex offense, monitoring me. They're gang stalking Reliable Properties. I hope you understand you criminally prosecuted. This is happening on a venue, at a venue where you are profiting from what is federal group stalking and monitoring, gang stalking. The P.O.C. It is currently 9:40 p.m. So the fact that you're listening to helicopter activity, this is the pattern of conduct, and this is automatic. I believe it's Alex Rodriguez. He's going to federal prison. He committed kidnapping with Hadel Shiapani, who committed the kidnapping with this same department, the military, on June 16, 2022. The one that's stalking me by helicopter right now at 11:09 p.m. And just like I documented, also what you're taking from this is that the Upland Public Library, where the military was stalking me by helicopter again, doing so while they are monitoring my device, while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is where the entity is indeed stalking. They were stalking at the Pizza Hut, which is what I documented. Reliable Properties, who is being federally prosecuted. This is the criminal pattern of conduct, Reliable Properties. You are a third party in a federal prosecution against the U.S. government, and you are a third party in that case, and you are engaging in criminal activity which is attributed to you by virtue of the presence of property that you are monitoring from. Where gang stalkers like this are on your property, targeting with the government, you are being federally prosecuted. Your property is filled with engineer light, just like you see here. They're engaging what is monitoring with communication devices, just like you see here, and they're doing so with helicopter activity. This is the vagina monitor that's gang stalking on 4th of July. She's going to prison. She also went to the Upland Public Library, gang stalking, looking tacky in the pink outfit, engaging the P.O.C. with the military, and this is also evidence of the entity that's gang stalking with impunity. Mr. Rodriguez of the Ontario Police, this is the device that they stole. All three of my phones. And they're doing so while the entity has the audacity to be gang stalking me in my face. Pay attention to this. But I want to be clear, this is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. Look at the light activity. She's holding up her device. She's going to prison. This is gang stalking. She's monitoring on her device. And she's doing so while the entity is in the same video stalking with helicopter. This is the entity that's engaging in that. That's light activity. That's a demon. And she's, while I want to be clear, these are the devices by Rodriguez that were stolen. And these devices were stolen while the entity is seeking to tamper with the video documentation. The video captured July 13th at 7:19 a.m. is the video evidence of this entity and what is criminal summoning. Okay, you're looking at what is mental illness, and this is going to be regretful in federal court. Where the entity is, for example, reliable properties, the people of the state are stalking with light in that parking lot, and that's why you're being federally prosecuted. This is the entity that's engaging in what is third-party conduct. Okay, this is a lesbian, and she's also a demon-possessed gang stalker, and that's exactly what she was referred to under the fake sun stalking under, stalking on July 4th, and you heard her and everything that came out of her face while she was stalking, and she's stalking now. This is the entity that's engaging in this, however, and they're doing so while the entity is stalking by helicopter with the people of the state who come in close proximity with this level of disregard. She's suicidal, she's obsessive, and she's mentally ill. This is psychopathic. She's engaging in it with disregard for the fact that she's going to prison for it because she is stalking with the government. She's stalking another woman at 12 p.m. at night. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that while they're monitoring on this device. This is the video that Rodriguez, Stater Brothers, Edgar, all the ones that are engaging in kidnapping don't want to be published. It's going to be published, and so is this entity that's engaging in what is stalking by helicopter. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in this, and the entity stalking by helicopter. The population that's engaged in this conduct is indeed mentally ill. This is not a human, this is a demon, and she's engaged in what is stalking with light. All right, she's engaged in this with the entity that's stalking by helicopter. She also goes into bathroom stalls, monitoring vagina, and she's engaging in what is the homosexual, psychopathic, sexually perverted P.O.C. And she's doing so, I want to be clear, the government has them engaging in what is criminal acts with them, just like this. This is federal stalking, and doing so with disregard for the consequences. This is martial law for this population. This is federal prison for this population. This is the P.O.C. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in this while I am on my device engaging in what is publishing the video documentation from the July 13, 2026 kidnapping. This is the evidence that she's doing so on behalf of the entity that's stalking at the by helicopter, because that's what they're doing. They're engaged in psychopathic pacing, and it is speaking to what is federal stalking on my device. Okay, this is the entity that is indeed. This is P.O.C. and that's speaking to, that's a psychopath that's stalking me like that. And remember what I'm telling her to her face was what she is. She's malnutrition. She's suicidal. She clearly has no one that cares about her because she's stalking somebody that I could not care less about her either. But she's engaging in criminal activity, and that's why she's going to be committed. This is the evidence where you are providing more beyond that which is beyond criminal. This is which is mentally deranged, and she represents a population. So does the defendant that is stalking over the Ovid Family Community Library in a helicopter. And remember, Rodriguez is the one that commits kidnapping and steals my phone. Steals all three of my phones when they were on my person outside of what is the policy of the Ontario Police Department, while moreover they're engaging in kidnapping, because you're not calling the police exercising any authority under the law. These gang stalkers engage in criminal summoning, which is also why Rodriguez is going to prison. And stealing my phone is relevant to the video that the entity tampered with, so it wouldn't upload. So while I am maneuvering around that, tampering on my device, the entity starts stalking by helicopter, and a vagina monitor comes right in person. This is the one that's documented July 4th. She's going to prison. This is P.O.C. Okay? I want to be clear. This is a demon. And this is a psychopath. You see the smile? There's nothing funny. She's stalking a woman, clearly showing that she's obsessively engaged in that. There's nothing funny about that either. There's also nothing funny about the way she's being described. This is also a pattern of her stalking me. There's nothing funny about that either. There's also nothing funny about stalking in a helicopter and you coming and wanting to be in my face, being obsessed with me. There's nothing funny about any of that. This is the P.O.C. There's also nothing funny about being committed for it. This is the entity that's engaged in the light activity. You see my shadows here? All right, this is an unintelligent minion. She's going to prison for it, and so are the demons of the U.S. military. These are the entity, I want to be clear, that eats feces. This is one that's engaging in having sex with children, ones that's engaging in what is trafficking them, and engaging in what is facilitation of that criminal system that's international while she's gang stalking in Ontario, California. She's going to prison for that. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in what is monitoring on my device. You heard the helicopter activity, and the entity is intentionally, with regard to third-party conduct, a third party is coming to be right next to me, stalking in the path, and they do so with impunity. I want to be clear, that's the image, the picture of what is obsession. Okay, I don't care that I'm going to prison. I'm going to come stalk you anyway. I'm even going to engage. Remember Kevin, that's gang stalking with City of Ontario, starts laughing. There's nothing funny about what they're doing. These are psychopaths who are humiliated, but they are nonetheless determined to engage in stalking, which is no longer a secret. And you certainly aren't making the target individual look like they're imagining anything. They are engaging in psychopathic behavior while they engage in smirking, laughing like something is funny when they are looking at and assessing themselves while they're being fully exposed. That's the relevant evidence pertaining to mental illness. The ones that are stalking in the cars are stalking with that same mentally ill disorder. So are the demons that are stalking in planes and helicopters. These are demons that have been stalkers from the beginning, have been sexually obsessed with me from the beginning, and they're going to be subject to martial law and involuntary commitments. This is P.O.C. This demon that's stalking is doing so with the people of the state that are sharing in that P.O.C. That's what that is, psychopathic pacing. Alrighty, this is the entity that's monitoring on my device as one. Okay, and they're doing so pursuant to, remember, Ontario Police Alec Rodriguez, he's going to prison, and so is, you have Lopez, that's the gang stalker. I want to be clear, the entity that's laughing right now, that finds this funny, Lopez is going to prison for the gang stalking that's underway with the entity stalking by helicopter, with the thieves of the Ontario Police Department, the gang stalkers of Stater Brothers engaging in criminal summoning. This is the same population. Edgar's going to prison. Everybody that works at that grocery store is going to prison while this entity is failing at but engaging in what is tampering with video evidence, so that then you can engage in what is stalking by helicopter, which is not only psychopathic evidence of stalking, but it's pursuant to federal stalking on devices they are monitoring. That's why this stalker, who is a lesbian, a predator, a homosexual predator, is doing so late at night and is willing to risk what is her liberty because of that. She's obsessed with me, and that is, by definition, a lesbian. This is the P.O.C. This is the entities doing so while they're stalking with light. Sarah's Regis Group, 2. Downtown Ontario luxury apartments, that's what they are, stalking with light. All these apartment complexes, the entire city of Ontario is being prosecuted. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and that's the purpose for the stalking by helicopter again, while the entity is engaging in monitoring. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's already convicted. This is the suicidal population that are in need of martial law, and that's exactly what's happening. I want to be clear, Ontario police who engaged in criminal summoning on July 13th, they are going to prison. That was not anything other than the pattern of conduct, monitoring in the bathroom and then making a series of unintelligent admissions while doing so. While you're looking, I document today vagina monitoring in the bathroom of the Ontario Police Department. They're not only sex offenders, they're thieves that engaged in tampering with this video that is going to be uploaded on the internet, and this is relevant context. While the entity sends stalkers, this is what the same thing that they do. They also commit murder with police departments. They engage in kidnapping with police departments. They engage in theft. They engage in battery. They engage in bearing false witness with the any police department that is gang stalking. This is third-party conduct, and it's psychotic. This is P.O.C. Currently 11:19 p.m. P.O.C. The entity hovering over the John Stewart Company apartments, where everyone that resides in there, all 76 units, are filled with third parties who are gang stalking, just like the malnutrition, gang stalking lesbian who is showing you what the people of the state do, engaging in criminal monitoring, obsessive stalking in order to monitor at all places and at all times, and they're doing so as residents of John Stewart Company apartments. Okay, this is the demon that's in Engineer Light crossing path. This is the gang stalking homeless that's at the Methodist Church engaging in a battery. All these little homeless bums out here gang stalking, going to the Pizza Hut. The same gang stalkers that are going to the gang stalking churches, they're engaging in the P.O.C. and they're doing so with the entity, the military that's flying, hovering over the John Stewart apartment complex. That's the elderly, by the way, who are at 11:52 p.m. gang stalking. That's why they're hovering over that apartment complex. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in this while the apartment complex itself, John Stewart Company, is being federally prosecuted in the same way that Reliable Properties is being federally prosecuted, while the government is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state who both reside at these venues, who are employed at these venues, and while these venues are a source of profiting, for which you are criminally engaging in and are enabling the government outside of what is your admission of doing so. You will be you're looking at the evidence which is going to hold you accountable in court. You are criminal defendants. This is the entity that's gang stalking at 11:53 p.m. This is P.O.C.